God bless everybody today. It is October 16, 2023. I want to go over a quick review on the markets. The market bonds are still melting up. The bonds run the whole show, so we need to watch the bonds. 2-year is where the banks borrow. 10-year is where the banks loan. The bond inversion is not as extreme, but that's not always such a good thing because in this case the 2-year bond is melting up, but the 10-year bond is melting up faster, and so the inversion is not as extreme, even though it affects you more because you're being loaned to at the 10-year rate. So as the 10 moves up even faster than the 2, you're going to see a minimization in the bond inversion, but you're going to get charged more for everything from your credit cards, auto, commercial, home, and any other kind of loan, because the 10-year is what dictates what those they charge you for those loans. And so let's look at these inversions. Like I say, we are now at about a 5.1% inversion, or 5.01% inversion, and that is what the banks borrow at, which is a 2-year rate. And then when you come to the 10-year, look, we had been moving up, and then we spiked when this Gaza conflict happened just recently last week, and now the bonds are moving and melding back up again. If this, and I've said this many times, if you hit a 10-year 5% rate, this will be destruction in the banks, because people are going to default on everything, and they're going to start doing runs on the banks and things like that. So you got to watch that. You might want to throw a little extra cash in your homes before it actually happens, and that way, I'm not trying to run the banks, I'm just saying just take some extra cash out, be safe. As this 10-year moves up, then that forces you to pay more on your 30-year mortgages, like on this chart I'm going to show you. So on your base mortgage rates, this was down around 8 or 8.1. Now you can see it's moving to 8.5. I've talked about if we have another layering of the Middle East, which would then send fuel, 125, 150 or higher a barrel, that would then hyperinflate everything, and these rates will go through double digits quickly. Okay. So just realize that that's why they're not loaning to you, because the 10-year is making it impossible for people to borrow, especially if they're borrowing on a $400,000 median loan house. That's a lot. That's a lot of money that they're paying in interest every year. Now, two reports that I keep bringing to your attention are the CPI and PPI reports, because they are concerned with inflation. Inflation that affects you, not necessarily what they're telling you that affects you, or what they report, because they cut out all of the stuff that matter to you or me, like food, rent, home, mortgage increases, fuel increases, all these different things that they don't add into this, because they don't want you to understand what the true inflation numbers are. But both CPI and PPI moved up, which means that fuel and food and anything that matters to you has been moving up in inflation. And then if you get a hit on the fuel side, which we've been having with this Israeli attack, and now these counterattacks, that fuel price will keep moving up, and you'll keep paying higher and higher amount of money for everything. So we'll just go over a couple things here real quick. So the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, is a measure of the average change over time in prices paid by urban consumers for a market basket of consumer goods. So they put all these different things in a basket, and that's what, when they invest, you have these services that do that. Indexes are available for the U.S. in various geographical areas, and so you need to understand that this is what this is the average change of over time of prices paid by consumers, especially in the cities and things like that. And you can see that went up 0.4%. So you're paying almost a 0.5% higher in inflation than you were the month prior. And that's moved up since the last year. So you have a year or on year compounding effect or month on month compounding effect at this point. Now, when you get into the producer price index, price index is a program that measures the average change over time in the selling prices received by domestic producers for their output. The prices include the PPI are from the first commercial transaction for many products and other services. And so this is extremely important because the manufacturer produces these products for a certain price, and then they have to figure out what margins they need, and then they charge you a final price. And so you need to understand that these prices to produce things due to inflationary and supply chain and other events are forcing the producers to charge you more because they are also being inflated at this time. And so your goods and services have been moving up. And you can see that because you can see that it's also rose about 0.5%. Okay, and if you go back to a year ago, it's moved up 2.2%. And so you're paying a lot more for everything. And as fuels start to move up more and more, that's going to be a real problem for you. And right now we're watching fuel spike again, as you can see on this chart, due to the occupation, the potential occupation of Gaza and the attack on Israel. This has all started to move back up. We could easily see 3-digit oil again, and look at that increase. These are huge jumps in fuel prices and different things like that. And last month we've seen at least a almost 5% jump, and that's just starting. We could easily push over $100 in the near future. And if Israel goes in and starts to do this occupation, the humanitarian outpour is going to be extreme out here against Israel as we start to watch the casualties pile up. Regardless of whether they're innocent or not. And this is then going to start to fracture the Middle East, and we're going to start to see what players go where and what side they're on. So we need to see how that's all going to play out. Two things you should watch as we have a meeting for the Fed on October 31st to 1st. I believe the 1st is the next date they will raise. And I'm going to say that because the 2 and 10 are melting up so quickly. For Jay to look like he has control of this, he will probably have to raise 1 or 2 more times possibly in the next 2 months. Okay, or between now and December 12th and 13th, and then I talk about that December 22nd event. Potentially a siege on Jerusalem, so this could be a real mess by that time. And then when you get into the next meeting, we've already had potentially a 6 seal event. We'll see how that turns out. And you're approximately about 30 days away from the next potential shutdown, and we do not have a speaker. They're having a real problem trying to implement a speaker into place right now. Whether they'll get that done in the next 30 days before November 17th, and this next potential shutdown that's going to happen, which is going to keep causing more and more problems. And you can see how many people it's affecting, different things like that. I'm not one of those that really is too concerned when the government shuts down, because then they don't spend money. So you know what, if you're going to kill people's jobs on the average guy out here and the guy leaving the warehouse and the manufacturing and services sector, I'd rather see him leave the government. I'm just saying, it might be a better, and actually, because they get paid so much more in benefits and pay and things like that. And I don't mean to beat y'all up, because I've been in governmental systems most of my life in one way or shape or form. But there is a lot of fat in those systems, and so when you shut them down, you will cause some real havoc out here, but you will save the government a whole lot of money in the process. So I'm just saying, will they shut it down? Will they actually not able to get the government back up? And then this is also affecting your aid to Ukraine and Israel, because they don't have a speaker in place, and so they don't really have the ability to pass any kind of legislation, move money, or anything else. Now, I wanted to bring this report up because third quarter profits for the banks were large due to they're charging you 30+% on your credit cards and everything like that. But Jamie Dimon with JP Morgan just came out at the end of this article. I'll show you what he had to say, that the economy is slowing and customers are depleting their savings at a rapid pace that no one's seen before. They're filling their fuel tanks now for winter. They're paying for educational funds, for student loans and things like that they didn't have to pick up before. Hyperinflation in food, fuel prices are moving up, so everybody's getting slammed. But the banks are making tons of money. Tell me they're not evil right now when they're charging you 30% on a dollar. I'm just saying. And then when you get down to the bottom of this, it says something here real interesting, that Jamie Dimon, which is the JP Morgan Chase CEO, basically said that this was the most dangerous time in history, even though the banks were making huge profits. And he sounded a major alarm about global effects from the conflict in Israel and Gaza. This may be the most dangerous time in the world has seen in decades, he said in a statement accompanying the bank quarterly earnings. He warned of far-reaching impacts on energy and food markets, global trade, and geopolitical relationships. And I'm telling you, if Turkey walks into this, it is going to be hyperinflation. Third seal, folks. It's called third seal. It's called the Black Horseman. You are in the seals. You need to understand where you are in time. If you cannot see where you are in this very moment in time and you're denying this and you think you're still going to be raptured before this starts and the seals, you're not supposed to be here for any of it, maybe you better look around and see what's going on out here, because I'm telling you right now, you better put some oil in your lamp because this is getting crazy out here. And I just wanted to show you this. This is a year chart of the inversion. It's about 0.41 where it used to be 100, but it doesn't matter because the 2-year bond is at 5.1 and the 10-year is at 4.7, moving up to 5 quickly. And so that is where the real inversional issue is the back end of the curve is moving up faster than the front end. And so this is causing banks to basically they're not loaning to anyone. They're restricting to everybody. And it's even worse in the foreign banks and like Europe and stuff. They're not loaning to anybody. And they're also borrowing against outflows. So what are the banks going to do to try to get through this? And you're going to see a massive cannibalization of banks. And this chart will show you that you have to watch your fuel prices. We had a lull, then we had Israel happen between October 6th, October 9th. We started to see that build up October 9th. Actually, it was October 7th is when Gaza attacked Israel, and then I said on the 9th we would see a retaliatory on Gaza, which they have been. We're into the 16th, and they are prepping for a massive land invasion, but they've been doing preemptive work to try to get these hostages out since the very beginning. And if you know anything about hostages, the first 24 to 48 hours are the most important time in working into now a week or weeks or months. You just really don't know how this is going to turn out for these people, and you have to pray for them and understand, what their families are going through as they've herded all these people into underground tunnels and things, and they're probably being treated as animals. Hamas are the brutal animals, and Israel is justified to retaliate against what just happened. You're going to see this pushback against Israel and how they're not justified to do this. But there's no way we would allow someone to come into our country, kill 1,000 people, and not retaliate. We've done this before. We had thousands of people die in buildings, and then we went over to the Middle East. Whether that was justified, I don't know, but that's what they did. And so Israel is justified in this. You know, babies were destroyed in ways we can't imagine. You need to understand the severity of what happened to the Israeli people. They need to eliminate Hamas completely. Israel's going to try to do that, but that's not necessarily going to work out real well with multi-pronged fronts going on, and Turkey then compressing and moving down on them from the north here soon. This one's going to get really interesting, and prices are going to get insanely high on everything. So if you're not going out and filling your lamp now, you might be spending 2 or 3 times more for those same products as we move forward in the next 6 to 12 months. You might want to plan ahead a little differently and see what's coming. And fuels are going to regulate everything out here. As they start shutting these straits down, Black Sea, Horn of Hormuz, all different things that could affect you to where they can't move fuels, grains, and things out of the Middle East or those areas, and they're all being locked down through blockades and different things like that. Fuels and foods are going to hyperinflate tremendously, and so you need to make sure that you're always looking for holes in your cupboards, okay? What are you missing? What do you normally use that you should be stocking up on? A couple cans every week, you know? I know time's getting short, but even if you few cans a week or a can a day or whatever you can throw down, canned meats, vegetables, whatever possible. Don't throw anything away. You know, it's like World War II. Don't throw anything away that might be usable later. Stick it somewhere, store it. You might need it for something. I'm just saying. So God bless you all. Keep your eye. Turkey's getting ready to do his thing. He's threatening the United States. He's threatening the Kurds. He's talking about being a friend of Palestine. You need to understand what that's all about. He's the leader of the Muslim world, and he's going to protect these Palestinians. But in that same breath, when Turkey comes down and compresses this whole area, everything that I've just shown you will hyperinflate, and you will start to see this is a third seal event and where you are in time. So find the open door, find Jesus. God bless. Have a great night. Keep your eye on everything from here to December. December 22nd is coming, folks. January 6th potentially is a 6 seal event, or somewhere around that time, I believe. So just be careful. I mean, I can't predict this stuff right on the hour or day sometimes, but it's within a gap of time that matters, and we need to understand what's going on so you can see this and you can prepare better, not only physically, spiritually, and mentally, because you need all of them to get to the end of this one. And yes, it is going to be a faith thing. You have to rely on the faith of Jesus and that God's in control of all this. But you still got to get to the end, and you can't starve to death or you'll just go out badly. And I don't want to see you suffer out here, and I've talked about that. I do not want to see you suffer. If you're prepared, you have your oil in your lamp, you put your blood above your doorstep, you hunker down, and especially through the first few waves of this, maybe the first year or so before this thing really calms down, and you let a lot of this chaos move through the first wave or two, then you can climb out of your hole and then hope maybe you can survive out of here without a lot of conflict. That would be really awesome. So be safe out there. Find the open door. Find Jesus. God bless.